What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down on what really moved it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So SoFi did close green despite some volatility today, 1.35%, 1962 the low, 2025 the high. So unfortunately breaking the, consecutive 52-week high trend that it was on. So I think it hit 3 consecutive in a row. But 64.04 million shares being traded, 71.49 is the average. So ultimately what caused a lot of uncertainty was associated to Trump, but not to this magnitude. So I think in reality, when it comes down to SoFi during the pre-market, it was failing to really kind of break above a key resistance level. So I think today was more of a technical consolidation at the same time. So nothing really wrong with that. Any stock not consolidating after like a 35 to 40% run, something's up. So I think at the end of the day, today was rather normal and very healthy for SoFi bigger picture. Today on a macro standpoint, you didn't really have all that much at all in reality. You just had the market reacting to Trump, talking about tariffs. One thing I kind of did find rather interesting is he mentioned that he determined countries' percentages as just common sense. And so I kind of found that very interesting. And I get the viewpoint why people don't like the grayness like that, because it's like, what do you mean? Like Japan's like 25%, you have other countries sitting at 40%. How did you distinguish the two? And just using common sense, like I feel like the market was kind of just shrugging its shoulders because of that. But nonetheless, SoFi still did close green, so that's all that matters. SoFi didn't have any news, no SEC filings, no fireside chats. Unfortunately, Ortex does not seem to be working today, so I can't be giving you any updates for that. But generally, as you can kind of see right here, this does show all the shorts and what they've been doing. And this is why at the same time, I do bring up shorts every single video, because for instance, yesterday, you had 23 million shares being traded by shorts, 62 million in total volume. So on a daily basis, shorts make up a huge chunk of the volume. So it is fair to kind of talk about them and how they are and what they're doing. So stay tuned for tomorrow once I go over the new updated short interest, and hopefully Ortex updates themselves and whatever else. But aside from that though, when it comes down to the options, 35 million in calls, 6.14 in puts. So kind of low dollar value in comparison to the last couple of trading days, as well as today you do see the orientation being somewhat bearish in nature. So 46% of all the options being done are bearish. So again, that's something I have been bringing up kind of as a good indicator of people's expectation. What is coming next? So the fact that people are relatively bearish today, maybe they are anticipating further consolidation. So once I go over the technicals, that might make a little bit more sense. Aside from that though, you had a lot of volume yesterday. Even today, still 41 million is a pretty good chunk of change. 143 million yesterday, and then 60 million the day before. Of the bulls, you see a consensus for it to be still above 21, so still a nice recovery. Bears are anticipating for it to be a sub roughly between 1850 and 19. And I think a lot of that has to do with just a grayness associated to tariffs. Some data did come out from Brazil saying just because of the tariffs, I think they are seeing more of a contraction in their economy, like 1.9%. So that's pretty dramatic if you think about it. So I think just still a lot of grayness associated to just that. These are all the transactions that did occur on the secondary market above $100,000, 1.1, 4.4, 4.5, so still a lot of big money getting into SoFi. First thing, you kind of had that a lot of strings of buying, a couple of strings of selling. That's what caused, of course, some of the pullback early this morning. Aside from that, though, it's it did do fairly well. Dark pool, a lot of big transactions. Roughly around 20 minutes ago, you had a $10.4 million transaction, 1.9 there. Dark pool is often enough used by institutions as well as shorts, so clearly shorts have been very active because these are all the transactions. Just keeps on going and going, just like the damn Energizer Bunny. But aside from that though, today with it closing at 2022, it is trading between this R2 and this R1. Still not fully breaking down on a technical standpoint, so 1897 is a very strong support. Wasn't even touched, and most likely I don't really anticipate that to be touched this week. 2034 is going to be that next strong target, and that's what SoFi did really struggle with pretty much during the pre-market and during the trading days. So with it failing to get above that, a little bit of consolidation. Like I said, nothing really wrong with that. So that's going to be a key point to really watch for in the next couple of trading days. Aside from all that fun stuff, there wasn't any new analyst ratings. So there was one that did come out yesterday that I wanted to share with you. That was Barclays, a $18 price target. I did see some individuals online saying that this is just crappy and whatever else. I wanted to kind of point this out. Honestly, I didn't actually know Unusual Whales did have this level of information right here, but this is all the recent ratings associated to SoFi. So you have Terry. At the time when they did give the rating, it was at 1989. They gave a $18 price target, so that does represent a 9.5% downside. But if we kind of look at this individual, you can kind of see, you might have to zoom in a little bit, but all the recent ratings that did come out on the 8th. So they gave, for instance, First American, many others, American Express, all different ratings. But if we kind of look at what they've done historically with SoFi, last rating was on March the 30th, or sorry, April 30th, and that was a $12 price target. At the time, it was $12.70. So generally speaking, same as what they recently did, they are always bearish. Clearly, they're anticipating a pullback with SoFi. So no different than what happened there. Even if we extend that further a little bit lower, back in July 31st, 2024, when it was at $7.45, they gave a $8 price target. So I think this analyst is just very narrow-minded. They're thinking pretty much about the next week, 2 weeks. So they're very kind of timid in my opinion. So I think in reality, this could be inversely seen as positive. So every time they seem to give a rating, it does go up quite significantly. So again, maybe this is the inverse Kramer for SoFi. So yeah, kind of interesting stuff for that. So let me know your viewpoint on that. So aside from all that fun stuff, the only thing that kind of came out that should really positively impact SoFi is this right here. So Department of Education to restart interest accrual on save loans. So this is going to be commencing August the 1st. So you'll see a little bit more of a bump up in refinancing, and a lot of stocks and whatever like SoFi will stand to benefit. So yeah, I think this is a pretty good thing. And it looks like the repayment assistance plan will be starting July 1st, 2026. So that's part of Trump's new bill. So yeah, pretty good stuff. And then aside from this though, the only thing that I wanted to bring up was this. So this came out a couple hours ago. So Department of Education to restart interest accrual on save loans. So this is going to be restarting August 1st, 2025, meaning SoFi should get a little bit more of a bump up in refinancing. So meaning more and more revenue. So in theory, pretty good stuff. I'll leave this article in the description below for those of you that want to kind of read it, but nonetheless, this should be a pretty good thing for, I guess, Q3 for additional revenue. Aside from all that though, on the actual chart itself, still not really much negatives to bring up aside from stochastic RSI still relatively overbought. And again, nothing really wrong with that. On the chart itself, one thing that you really want to watch for is this super trend, and that is at 1758. I know it's kind of already below a lot of the kind of points that I've already mentioned for support levels, but still, depending on the level of consolidation that does occur, if it breaks below that super trend, then you'll have algorithmic trading really working against SoFi. So that's going to be a point to really watch for, but still not really much negatives to bring up from the chart itself. So let me know your thoughts on SoFi. What's your viewpoint on what's been happening on a larger scale? Are you still buying into SoFi? Are you selling? What's your kind of general thoughts? And Based on the bulls, going back to the options, do you think that, for instance, 21 is realistic, or do you kind of agree with the bears that consolidation is going to be occurring? I'll just give you a quick overview as well of the open interest. So for this week, a couple key ones to watch for: 1650, you have 80,000 in open interest. At the $20 strike price, you have 17,000, and at the 21, it has 26,000. So best case scenario, SoFi does close above 21 come this Friday, then you'll have a very kick-ass kind of continued momentum going into next week. And then next week's chain is a monthly chain, so that one is going to be abnormally high volume. So let me know your viewpoint on SoFi. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon. I do give buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, many of which have been absolutely on point. Definitely worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.